Hello, my name is Jiraiya with Allergic to Unhappiness.com. We're going to go over the basic steps to creating a small stained glass project. First thing you're going to need is a design for your window, whatever you're looking to create. I designed mine on graph paper here. Then you have to actually make a second copy. You want to do that on some cardboard so you can use that to cut out for templates. So here we've got a little project that's already complete on the right hand side, and we're starting to work on the second window. The green cutouts for the guy in the center are rough cut, they're ready to go, and I've got my red stock here. I'll start taking my cardboard, cut out my templates using a Sharpie pen to trace on the outside. I'm going to go ahead and trace several of these pieces so I can cut them all out of this one piece of stock. If you want to do one at a time, I've done that many times where I just mark one piece, cut it, and then I work my way around and try to be as efficient as possible with using the glass. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and mark out several pieces to prepare them to cut. So now I've got all of my templates marked out on here, and what I'm ready to do now is start cutting. First thing I'll do is cut off some of the excess outside glass and move that to the side. Once I'm done with that, then I can start separating the individual pieces. Here I'm using two hands to cut. I have a steadier hand when I use two hands to cut. Some people do use two, some people use one. Just it suits me right now. I'm also very new at this, so I've only done 6 or 7 windows, and so I'm learning as I go, and I'm getting better at cut as I go. I'm going to use some curved pliers here. Use the curved pliers to apply pressure to both sides of the glass next to the score line, which separates the two. Here's another shot of the glass being broken down into smaller pieces. As I get going along, I put some small dark X's. That lets me know what parts of the glass I'll be discarding so that I don't cut through, make relief cuts on pieces I'm going to be using in the window. So this is a diamond grinding wheel. It actually has some water injected to it, so it helps with keeping the dust down, keeping any of the glass from flying too far, and also keeps the glass cool while grinding. And as you can see in this piece here, I've got some black marks. Those black marks I've put on there with a Sharpie to indicate parts of the glass I need to remove to make it fit in the window properly. So what you do is go along and grind those edges smooth, and then you're all set. And once you put them in place, they should look like this. Heading towards the end of the process of the window, we're actually going to start copper foiling. Copper foiling is like a small copper tape. It actually has an adhesive on the back side. We wrap this on the outside edge of each of the pieces. Slowly the adhesive sticks quite well, so once you get to wrapping this, it actually is not too difficult. You want to make sure to leave the equal parts on each side of overhang, because that's going to wrap around the piece. And eventually this is what's going to hold the entire window together. This is what the solder sticks to. Now that we've got it wrapped all around all sides, secure this last little bit with my finger, and then starting in the corners, I'll actually pinch down the edges, securing the copper foil, and then work my way back all the way around the piece, folding the flaps all the way around on corners. And then I have a plastic roller, which you'll see in a few seconds, that I actually force down and just make sure it's nice and flat, and make sure it's really stuck well on the glass piece. here's the plastic roller. This just flattens out the copper foiling. Make sure it's nice and pressed well against the glass. The thing's ready to solder after this. So here we have the entire piece is all copper foiled, it's all pressed, looking fancy, looking a bit like jewelry. Get everything lined up, make sure it fits well, make sure you like the fits. There's a few gaps, but I'll get better as I improve by doing more windows. Here's it sitting next to the template, so it looks pretty much the same. Then what I do is I lay out 2 pieces of trim on a 90-degree angle, and then I use 2 other 90-degree angles off of that so I can make a nice square window. I start applying flux, but just on the intersections of the glass. What I want to do is get the flux in the corners, because then what I'll take is the soldering iron and I'll actually secure each of these intersections, which will make the piece one piece, and then when I go to solder the entire window, then it'll stay together and not shift. As you can see now, just moving the brush in between putting the flux on, it tends to want to push the pieces around. So once I put some secure solder in each of these intersections, the window will be nice and solid, and I'll be able to solder the rest of it. So here the window is all tacked. All the solder's been put into place. It's very solid now. We don't have to worry about the pieces moving around and coming out of alignment. Taking the flux and I'm brushing it on all of the copper foiling. That way I can solder the rest of the project. I do stay away from the edges by about 1/4 of an inch. That leaves room for my U-channel zinc framing that I'm going to put on to finish the project. Putting the solder on, you do want to be cautious that you don't overwork the solder. If it gets too hot, the glass gets too hot, the glass can crack. Also, if you get the solder hot enough, it'll just bleed through the back of the project, so it just creates more work. So just work the project a little bit. If it gets to where something doesn't look the way you like, what you can do is go to the next spot, work on it for a little bit, allow the other solder to cool. You can always come back and touch it up. The solder is very flexible. It can be reworked, it can be cleaned up. So you can always come back to those sections to work on that. Here the project is all soldered, both sides. The only part that's not soldered is the outside edges with the framework. Here's another shot with the framework on it. The framework is just U-channel. It does make the window look a little sharper, but it also provides some stability to it, makes it a lot stronger. I'm going to show a quick little shot of what the U-channel actually looks like from the end so you have an idea. This comes in 6-foot lengths. You just cut it with a pair of pliers, but what it does is solders nicely around the windows, but it allows the glass to fit inside there to look quite nice. Here's the project finished. A little bit of light coming through them, ready to deliver to my friend who's going to give them away as a couple of trophies, so very cool to be able to do this project for him and to do it for that. So there's a basic idea of what it's like to create a window. It's not really a tutorial, but it does give you some basic understanding of what it takes to create the steps. If you have any questions or anything, please hit me up in the comments.